Trump had a plan at the State of the Union. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Trump did have a plan last night during his marathon State of the Union address. Remind Americans before the midterms that your other choice is insane. Last night, Democrats refused to show support via applause for a long list of heroes, victims of their own absurd policies, and generally decent, universally supported ideas, including ending fraud, jailing criminals, lowering drug prices, and lower energy costs. They can't support any of those things. Democrats refuse to stand and support families devastated by illegal immigrant crimes. They refuse to stand for that little girl right there. They wouldn't cheer for a U.S. soldier seriously injured in the raid to capture a dictator in Venezuela. They wouldn't stand for two of the last remaining heroes of the Second World War. Recently, independent support for our president has been slipping. Nobody can deny that. Trump's plan last night was to ask those independents that are moving away, are you really going to vote for them?
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself.
As Ilhan and Rashida Tlaib yelled at him. How insane is a moment like that? But of course their loyalty doesn't lie with Americans. They were being honest. They couldn't stand and applaud for that because they don't feel that way. They don't align with you. They spent 4 years trying to replace you with millions of third world migrants. Independent voters who are irritated by Trump's erratic style and messaging, or those who wanted mass deportations but don't like all the drama and don't want to see it all, are the ones that are moving away. And those are the ones that got a wake-up call last night. Yeah, where are you moving to? Another enraging moment when Democrats sat on their hands during this moment.
Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America. Came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretsky, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand?
How do you not stand for that? Really? They wouldn't stand for the sobbing mother of a young girl who was knifed to death on a busy train in the middle of the day in a city controlled by their pro-criminal ideology. I still can't believe that something like that happened with so many people around, but it did. And that's the reality of the place that it happened, Charlotte, North Carolina. Of course, these decisions, whether or not to stand in moments like this, were all made prior to the speech. They thought it all out. Ukrainian girl brutally knifed to death on a train by a repeat offender that we refuse to jail. No, we're going to be ignoring that as a party. They couldn't stand for all of these things that I just listed for you, but their advisors did tell them you better stand for the hockey team. And we will say that most of them did. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib did not. And later, when chants of USA, USA began, one camera feed showed the party's Islamic wing seated comfortably and Palestinian Rashida Tlaib chanting KKK, KKK at the same time. Which kind of tracks for somebody who publicly hates the Jews so much, like Rashida Tlaib does. But think of how twisted that is, that we have a congresswoman who so egregiously hates our country that she chants KKK while we chant USA. That the enemy has so comfortably taken up power in this free country. Our freedom is our greatest vulnerability. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are prime examples of the exploitation of that vulnerability. Trump hammered Ilhan Omar last night, and it was fun to watch, hammering the billions stolen by her Somali countrymen that we've allowed to come into our country and exploit our good nature.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA, and it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games.
You could see Rashida there. You could see Ilhan. You could see the rage on Ilhan Omar's face as he was saying this. A woman who's known for years that all of her buddies were robbing us blind. Ilhan held an election victory party at a restaurant owned by one of the biggest thieves of all of our money. She knows exactly what's been going on. She loves it. And she's so furious that the jig is now up that she can barely contain her rage. The two of them screaming at the president as he spoke. Screaming. Trump made these two a big part of his speech, and that was the brilliance of last night. How many Americans identify with those two more so than they do with the President of the United States? It's a small group. It's a wild video to watch, isn't it? That was part of the brilliance of the speech, though. He brought him right into it. And as the president labeled the opposition insane, which is exactly what the opposition is today, he reminded Americans what he's working toward: fixing the massive grift that has stolen our wealth. The real reason that Americans are struggling right now, the real reason everybody's talking about affordability, and Democrats are trying to latch on to that as a potential talking point, it's a disaster that they created themselves.
For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to health care, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great. The same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly use the word affordability, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well.
I say it on the show all the time. They're trying to run on the disaster that they created. That is how awful that party is. And the plan is actually working. It's taking time. Inflation really is dropping and dropping quick. There's a big difference between 3% and 2%, big difference. And we're closing in on the Fed's target of 2%. Indications are we could hit it in the month of February. The target inflation rate. That would be a hell of an accomplishment after what we just went through. Think about how long it took Reagan to get those numbers down. Wages are now rising faster than inflation. That's a huge benefit to the American people. That means the value of your paycheck is going up faster. The president is trying to fight through a vicious swamp to radically slash the size of the government. Joe Biden grew that D.C. tumor 25-30% larger in a matter of a year or two, using COVID as an excuse. And nobody wants to take it back down because everybody in Washington, no matter the party, loves a big, fat, wasteful government, except the guy that's sitting in the White House. They grew the government by 25-30%, and guess what? Americans end up facing a 22% inflation price hike over those years. That's not a coincidence. The bigger that government gets, the higher inflation goes, the less money you have, your quality of life goes down, your cost of living skyrockets. And last night, the Democrat Party showcased Abigail Spanberger as their new it girl and the voice of affordability, which was comical in the rebuttal. A new governor who's called for massive increases in all sorts of taxes to fund more government to help affordability in her state.
Costs are too high. Since this president took office last year, his reckless trade policies have forced American families to pay more than $1,700 each in tariff costs. They're making your life harder. They're making your life more expensive. Democrats across the country are laser focused on affordability in our nation's capital and in state capitals and communities across America.
Little CIA robot there thinks she's got a plan. The plan is to take more from her people in taxes and increase regulations dramatically and spend that money on more wasteful government programs. You know how those programs work? Look at Minnesota. That's how they work. And they're hoping that voters are dumb enough to think that their plan is not going to do exactly the opposite of what they say it will, which is, of course, what it's going to do. Yes, this is the Democrat Party. This is how absurd they have become. Our Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, had a front row seat last night right there on the left in front of Lee Zeldin. And he joins us tonight. And, sir, it's good to have you. I want to start with the plan to bring affordability to Americans from the Democrat Party. You're a businessman. Higher taxes and more government programs. That's how you get costs down, right?
Yeah, well, President Trump called it crazy, but these are crazy policies. And what a speech last night, President Trump. It was patriotic. It was forward-looking. It celebrated the 250 amazing years of this country, laid the foundation for incredible age of abundance that we're heading into right now. And then he basically tore apart the arguments that the Democrats left us. It was a mess that we left. Everybody in the cabinet knows that. Everybody's been working their tail off under the leadership of this great president to turn around the ship in every one of these departments 180 degrees. That was a huge lift to get that done in the first year. Yep. And you covered it, Rob. I mean, we've got, wages are up, income is up, mortgage prices are down, inflation is down, red tape is way down. We are really set up. The investment that's going in to create jobs is way up in this country. We are set up for such an economic boom ahead of us, but what a miracle first year President Trump had.
The plan is showing the signs of progress that are, it's really, really cool to watch because I know how important this is and I know how hard that team works. Wage growth now raging past the inflation rate. You look at the numbers there on the screen. That is the number everybody that's worried about the cost of everything has to pay attention to. Your wages are going up faster than inflation. We haven't seen that number in a while. We certainly didn't see it under Joe Biden. Mortgage rates are coming down. You guys are working to increase the supply of homes. The biggest thing that's killing everybody is the cost of a house, which has doubled in like 5 years. You're trying to keep banks from buying the supply of homes we have. You're trying to reduce regulation so you can get more houses built. That's going to be the recipe, right?
Well, absolutely that, and getting interest rates down, because every time interest rates come down a point, you got millions of more people that can afford to buy a house. But President Trump last night, he introduced, I was about ready to lose track, 8 different programs that he wants the legislature to pass right now, Congress to pass right now, everything from, saving America with the Save America Voter Act. But every one of these policies that he had is going to make America more affordable. Yeah. It's going to make America more competitive. It's going to make American cities safer. He is on track working on everything that the average American, the working families of America care about. And one thing barely got covered. No tax on tips. I met a woman last night that runs a salon in North Dakota, the Gratitude Salon. Collectively, the people that work at her salon that cut hair, do nails, do whatever, between the group of people just in that one salon in the town of Bismarck, $155,000 of tips came in across that group last year. They're paying no taxes on that this year. When the stuff he's already passed into law kicks in, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. This place is really going to get humming.
I love the no tax on tips. I don't have to drop a little $20 on top of my credit card anymore so they can maybe keep a little more of that tip money. That was a great idea. Secretary Burgum, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Always great to be with you, Rob. Thank you.
All right. Mercedes Schlapp joins us now. Mercy, good to see you. A CNN poll indicates Americans like what they heard last night. 63% of the people that watched this speech liked what they heard. That's something.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, President Trump, and listen, we've heard so many of his speeches. I have to say, I believe it is one of the best speeches President Trump has ever given. It was inspirational. It was about the American people. It was about celebrating their stories and also talking about and weaving in those stories of sadness and tragedy and brokenness, but then with the story of hope, a story of restoring so many of these broken souls. Think about that. That is in contrast with the Democrats, which their messaging has been one of despair, destruction, and division. That is where the Democrats are going. They don't have a plan. Here you have President Trump moving forward with common sense policies that are working for the American people.
You live in Virginia, right? I mean, so yes. Spanberger is your new governor, which is, wow, what a sad story. You had a great governor, and now you have a terrible one. I mean, the plan is to tax and regulate the state into prosperity and into a better position as far as cost of living. I can't think of a worse plan. And my question is Abigail Spanberger really the golden girl of the party, the future of the party, to give the rebuttal last night?
Well, Rob, I don't know if you should feel sorry for me, because I think I should feel sorry for you, because you've got the Mayor Mondami, who's literally a communist. Yeah. So I think we should both be pretty depressed at this moment of where we live. But I got to tell you, with Spanberger, what's very disturbing about her is that she ran as a moderate Democrat.
Yes.
And in essence, when you look deeper, and the fact is that she was honing in on saying, we're going to raise taxes here in the Commonwealth, take away your gun rights, and then move forward again with the wokeism agenda when it comes to all the LGBTQ curriculum and the gender affirming care. And it's just nonstop with her. And she's really pushing us close to almost the tax rates of California. I mean, it is, even, Matt told me, he's like, I don't know how much longer we can live in Virginia. I mean, we've lived here for quite some time, raised our kids here, but it really is not going to work in the long term. And quite frankly, we have this big fight happening in Virginia right now where they're looking to redistrict. So we could lose congressional seats as we're moving forward for Republicans. That also is a very big problem.
Yeah, I can't fathom that that's the girl. I mean, I just think it's such a bizarre choice for the rebuttal.
Well, look at their options.
They don't have great options.
There's Gavin Newsom. There's Abigail Spanberger. I mean, look at their options. It's not a deep bench.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Got to leave it right there. Mercy, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Great to see you.
All right. The Trump-deranged radical left hit rock bottom last night outside of the Capitol.
Whatever you do, it's all right with me.
Oh, sorry to show you that. But that is next. And then later in News from the Left, a nervous Nancy responds after Trump calls her out on national TV for her corruption.
Look at your own self. The inference he wants to draw is there was something wrong with that.
Whenever news breaks.
A lot of destruction there. It was really the front lines in the battle.
And wherever it happens.
Humanitarian corridors opened up this morning.
We're trying to go rescue a 96-year-old lady that doesn't have anybody to take care of her.
They're using ingenuity. They refuse to give up.
It's incoming fire. Come on. Yeah, let's get down here.
Newsmax is there for you.
Ready for relief? I just want relief.
I needed relief. You just want relief. Like you just want it to go away.
You need the Signal Relief Patch.
We all hurt, whether it's our neck, back, knees, or shoulders. Pain keeps you from doing the things that matter most. In a recent study, 85% of people felt relief.
As a surgeon, I put it on, and I can't explain why it works. I can just tell you, it does work.
Some people think this is just in my head, but I know that it works. It's working.
The Signal Relief Patch for me offered up independence.
The Signal Relief Patch for me actually means pain relief.
With a Signal Patch, I've been able to sleep, walk, and work.
Relief. That's what the Signal Patch gave me.
It was phenomenal. Why aren't more people trying this?
Join the thousands who have experienced relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Get your patch today.
Balance of Nature is a wonderful product. Whether you're a teenager or whether you're older, you don't have to be in your 70s to take the product. I recommend it to all of my friends. I'm very grateful that I started on Balance of Nature.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Go to balanceofnature.com and subscribe and save with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action.
These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
Yeah. The most deranged of the crazy, though, actually weren't even in the room, a lot of them. They held a loser party outside the Capitol last night to fight fascism, dubbed the People's State of the Union. Senators Adam Schiff and Chris Murphy headlining that one, along with squad member Pramila Jayapal. Joy Reid has clearly hit rock bottom. She decided to sing for a very meager crowd.
Attention all MAGA trolls. Your bull is not welcome here. Y'all.
We are more divided now than at any time since the Civil War.
It's not trans kids driving up your rent. It is the billionaires doing that. We are standing up for our trans kids.
I'm so in. Come on.
I stuck in the border. Go Trump. Go Trump. Hey, Murphy, you're a scumbag.
Thanks, man. Thanks, buddy.
Keep it going. Whatever you. Woo. It's all right with me.
Sorry. There were multiple rallies for the loony left last night. Anti-Trump group Defiance teamed up with the inflatable Portland Frog Brigade to host what they called the State of the Swamp. Robert De Niro was the headlining speaker there. The Oscar winner followed a question and answer from an inflatable frog. I still don't really understand what the deal is with the frogs, but they are really good at making themselves seem crazy. A guy called Robbie Roadsteamer sang about Jeffrey Epstein while wearing a giraffe costume. Yes, these are all like the weird kids from high school. They've all created a political apparatus, and they're using it to the best of their ability. You had failed former left-wing TV hosts Jim Acosta and Mehdi Hassan as well.
Joyful, radical, peaceful resistance with the Portland Frog Brigade.
I'm the co-founder of the Portland Frog Brigade.
Hey, Mr. Tangerine Man.
Writer of sexy books, Stacey Abrams.
Trump was on the Jeffrey Epstein plane.
It really should be called the state of the unethical.
He is a fascist.
Tragically, we're now in a country of, by, and for a handful of dishonest, greedy, and cruel authoritarians.
Hold on to the truth and hold on to hope.
And ICE. And ICE.
Jim Acosta right there, F ICE. How many years did CNN tell you that that was an unbiased D.C. correspondent, a White House correspondent? They told you for years that was a real reporter. Look at him now. See what we've revealed. You had De Niro there just humiliating himself, hanging out with these people. A singing giraffe, the frogs. What? Do they want to lose? Almost every fired partisan journalist showed face at this thing as well, claiming that they are now independent journalists. And then there was Terry Moran.
Terry Moran, I'm an independent journalist.
Independent journalist. Kari Lake is the acting CEO of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, and she joins us now. Independent journalist is the new term for some. It's a euphemism for people that were fired for being radically partisan, which means that they are the exact opposite of independent journalism. They're just left-wing journalists.
They're the most biased of all biased propagandists out there. And I don't know, Rob, is it possible to die from cringe? Because watching that video you just played, I'm almost breaking out in hives. It was so bad. I think I figured out what happened. Maybe somebody from the Republican Party or the MAGA movement infiltrated the left and did the programming planning for that alternative programming, because every single clip you just showed could be used against the Democrats when it comes time for them to run for election next year. Wow. And I don't know if there's anything that's going to help them win. Not only that, the embarrassment of those who showed up and sat on their hands and didn't cheer for somebody getting a Medal of Freedom or a soldier who's come home after being wounded in one of the most incredible acts of American patriotism and military excellence by capturing Maduro. They couldn't even clap and stand and say that they cared for the American people over illegal criminal immigrants. So it was a really, really bad night for Democrats. As if things couldn't get worse, I think they've hit rock bottom.
And it really kind of shows you, another thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is why Democrats can't seem to just, like, if I'm them and if I'm trying to give them advice to win, I'd say it's real easy. You move to the middle and you get yourself a pretty normal person. But what you're realizing is that they can't win without the flank that was on display last night. And these people are lunatics. I mean, they're complete and total. They're trans-centric lunatics. And that's their whole base. And if you lose them, if they don't come out and vote, you can't win. So that's why there's nobody normal that can be normal. They have to pander to this.
Well, and that's, I think Fetterman has figured out how to be a Democrat in these times, and it's somebody who has come toward the middle on things and tries to find some common sense. I don't agree with probably 85, 90% of where he is, but he's trying to be decent, and, I think he stood and clapped for the reasonable things. How do you not get excited for Team USA hockey? You saw these filthy rats in the fake news media standing there and acting like they hate America. Last night was so revealing, and President Trump was masterful when he said, stand up if you supporting the American people over, criminal illegal aliens, and people like the seditious Mark Kelly sat there and just stared him down. It was just so revealing. I'm actually glad the president had such a perfect night. It was 100% perfect.
Yeah, and what they really did was there's a lot of ammo for the ads, for the TV ads that we're going to see in the next 6 months. You're going to see a lot from that State of the Union of them sitting on their hands. You're going to see the picture of the crying mom, the girl getting stabbed on the train, Democrats sitting there. It just...
And the frogs.
Boom, they asked for it. Yeah, it's wild. Kari,
and the frogs.
And the frogs and all the other idiocy as well. Kari, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
Tonight's Epstein update comes with the visual of Bill Gates paying for sex with 2 Russian hookers. That as Bill and Hillary prepare to testify tomorrow. All that up next with Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
The crisis inside Ukraine has reached a catastrophic level, with the elderly Jews pushed to the very limit.
Go inside. She's freezing cold. There's no electricity, no heat, no water. Winter is now a weapon of war, used against the elderly, the mothers, and the young children.
They've been lined up here for hours. These are precious people who are hungry. And they have nothing. If someone doesn't do something soon, a humanitarian disaster is coming. So many Jewish people who are just waiting for someone to care enough to pick up the phone.
Fears are growing that without an emergency, full-scale response, thousands will die this winter.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews needs your $25 gift now to help rush a winter survival food box of emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact, thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
They felt the shaking of missiles. These are people who have already endured so much suffering and disaster, taking out power, taking out water, simple water to drink. We're talking about the difference between life or death. Christian, Jew, standing shoulder to shoulder, saying, we're here to heal, we're here to help.
Your gift of only $25 helps rush a winter survival food box filled with life-saving emergency food for elderly Jews and families in Ukraine. Thanks to a special matching challenge, if you call now, your gift's impact will be doubled. Time is critical. Please give now.
Your Florida life is calling, and we have the answer. Valencia in Florida by GL Homes. Premium 55-plus living in 5 prime Florida locations. Gorgeous new homes from the mid-300s to $2.5 million. World-class resort-style living 24/7. Huge clubhouses, on-site dining, pickleball, and more. Effortless, low-maintenance living. Valencia, your Florida life is calling. Experience more at valenciaflorida.com.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, Michael, that's 1/3 of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible? I said, Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't.
The emails in the files suggest that Bill Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat a sexually transmitted infection and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing.
Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth.
So tonight's Epstein update comes with an apology from Bill Gates. The Wall Street Journal reporting Gates apologized to the staff of the Gates Foundation over his ties to Epstein, admitting he made mistakes, that he cast a cloud over the philanthropic group while insisting he didn't participate in Epstein's crimes. In a town hall on Tuesday, Gates acknowledged that he had 2 affairs with Russian women that Epstein later discovered. This, as Bill Clinton is set to testify in the House Oversight's Epstein probe on Friday, where he'll have to be answering for questions like this one, a redacted face in a hot tub and a very happy, slick Willie. Hillary is testifying tomorrow, one day before Bill. Epstein's former attorney, Alan Dershowitz, telling Newsmax the Clintons are not going to be taking the fifth, that they will be answering the committee's questions. Remember, they initially demanded that this all be done publicly. Well, it's now going to happen at their home in Chappaqua, New York. Last night, the same Democrats who ignored the victims for years used them as props against the president, as we saw. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert joins us now with more on that. And Congresswoman, good to see you. I mean, it is something to see the voices that screamed for all of this transparency as Democrats ignored and pushed it away for 4 years are now their favorite people.
Yes, exactly. So Democrats certainly never called for any release on any of the Epstein files in the past. Republicans have campaigned on that for years now. I certainly have been one of them, and so has the president. And last night, we saw that they are still for open borders, that they are for political violence, that they cannot even stand for the victims of families where crimes have taken place. The sweet Ukrainian woman who was killed in New York. They couldn't even stand for her mother. And, you know, it's really gross when you see their hearts. And it makes it very difficult to call for true unity, because who wants to unify with people who cannot say that they want to put Americans before illegal aliens, who won't say that they even love our country?
Bill and Hillary are going to be answering questions this week, which is highly anticipated stuff. We think we're going to have some of the information and the transcript and even maybe video of this after it's over tomorrow for Hillary Clinton. What are your expectations about how this goes, especially in regards to Bill Clinton, who has so much to answer for?
Well, as history shows, the Clintons are very slick. They have no problem seeming to lie under oath and to hide their dirty deeds and not get those out in public, bleach them and, smash them up with a hammer. But tomorrow we will be deposing Hillary Clinton. And I have some very serious questions I would like to ask her regarding those who are affiliated with her campaign directly, like John Podesta, and and why her and Bill Clinton are mentioned so much in these Epstein files. They like to distance themselves, just like the rest of the Democrats and anyone else who is named in these files that have been released. And I would like to get some truth here. This is going to be a very long deposition, but it will be able to be viewed by the public, which is very, very important. This will have more information released than a regular committee hearing where each member of Congress just gets 5 minutes of a clip time.
Yeah.
We can ask as many questions as we like and go as long as we want to during this deposition. So tomorrow is Hillary Clinton, and then Friday will be Bill Clinton, and we will be here to depose both of them.
And you're already in Chappaqua, or you're in the New York area, I assume, in your hotel room.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And lucky for us, my grandson stayed out of the shot.
Yeah, good job, kid. All right, Congresswoman, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, Trump gave us a big indicator, potentially, on his Iran plan last night, admitting now that he believes that the regime has killed tens of thousands of its own people. What that could mean. Next with Rick Grenell.
They've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protesters. 32,000 protesters.
Hey, it's Mark Lauder. My career's taken me from the State House to the White House, campaigns for mayor, all the way to President of the United States. I came to Newsmax to help our viewers get more than the headlines, beyond the spin. It's a perspective you'll only see on Newsmax.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Not again. Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming!
Thanks, Revere.
We really need to keep Zycam in the house.
Only if you want to shorten your cold. When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zycam.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Welcome back. With an armada of warships in the Middle East, the president last night giving us an indication of what might be to come. indicating he believes the numbers that the regime in Tehran has killed a massive number of its own people. Take a listen.
The regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protesters. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
So I thought the comments about the 32,000 were interesting. In the past, we've heard the president indicate he's not sure what to believe about the numbers and how many were killed. Remember that he told Iran not to harm the protesters. Additionally, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, briefing the Gang of Eight on Iran right before Trump's address, which is interesting as well, an indication that a move could be coming. Rick Grenell is the president's special envoy, or envoy for special missions, I should say. And Rick, good to have you back on. What do you think? Where do you think we're at right now after what we heard last night?
Well, look, one thing that I can tell you, I was just in the Oval and just a couple of days ago, and the president is very serious about trying to find a diplomatic solution. And that does not mean that he's trying to go back to JCPOA point 2. He's not trying to recreate exactly what Obama did, because Obama, frankly, President Obama got outmaneuvered by the Iranians. And President Trump is extremely clear-eyed, as he said, about the threat. This is the world's #1 sponsor of terrorism. But President Trump also absolutely wants to embrace peace. He's very serious about diplomacy. I thought last night one of the most revealing comments is when he said, look, we're talking to them. Jared and Steve are talking to them. We've got great diplomats doing diplomacy. We're very serious about diplomacy. But we haven't heard those words, which is the high bar that we need to hear, which is they are going to give up their nuclear weapons. We know that they have lots of money, billions of dollars that President Obama gave them, that President Biden gave them. The deals in the past have been terrible. President Trump has a very high bar, but he's extremely serious about diplomacy. I also love the fact that President Trump is the one who calls off diplomacy and transfers the file from the State Department over to the Pentagon when appropriate. I trust him. He's asking lots of different people all sorts of angles and advice. He is very inquisitive about what's happening, and I think we're in very good hands with President Trump.
It is a question we got to ask, though. If we're so worried about nuclear weapons, I mean, this was a nuclear program that we claimed was decimated just a few months ago. Why are we worried about nuclear weapons?
Well, look, they are close to the breakout number, which is the enrichment level. We also know that they've lied in the past to John Kerry about the number of centrifuges they have. They've lied about the heavy water amounts that they bring in, which is what you need to create this nuclear weapon. So you can't trust them. They've lied in the past. Remember, there were years ago that the Israelis found this whole locker of information that really proved that the Iranian regime had been lying, and the Obama team just completely got snookered.
I know.
And the Biden team.
Yeah, I know that it's terribly unpopular with the base of support for the president to talk about going into another country, especially one as far away as Iran. But when you have a country that is this awful, and I mean the way that they operate is just like kind of holding the world hostage. You know, do what we want, or we might create a bomb, we might do something terrible. You know, allow us to operate, allow us to fund. You know, in Obama's case, give us money, release sanctions, fund us, let us have billions of dollars, or we might blow up the world. I mean, who wants to deal with this perpetually going forward? At what point do you just say, we're going to go over there and we're going to pop this zit, and we're done with this? We're not going to let this happen anymore.
Well, look, I'm a diplomat. You're always going to hear diplomacy from me. I think we've got plenty of people on TV talking about military options and rattling the cage. However, what I will say is you are right. They are a global threat They funded terrorism. They have the ability financially and the motive to come after our people. But for me, and I think for President Trump, his criteria is America. How do you protect America? If America is threatened, then he will act. But I know that President Trump is a man of peace and is trying to find every possible angle for a diplomatic solution. It's a very high bar. And if he decides to end diplomacy and do something else, I can tell you he has really worked through every angle. He's tried to make it happen, but he's protecting America if that's the case.
Yeah. Rick Grenell, good to see you as always. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Mamdani demands a fortune, a huge pile of money to study his communist plan for city-run grocery stores. Next in News from the Left.
Every great idea starts with a spark, a vision. At growads.com, we take that dream and make it shine on every screen. We craft breathtaking TV spots tailored to you, and then we put them on every screen, from cable TV to streaming platforms and everything in between. And it all starts at just $950.
Identity theft has become the country's most frequent crime.
I opened my account and $30,000 is missing.
$21,000 just gone.
Every 5 seconds, another American becomes a victim of identity theft. Every 5 seconds.
My accounts were being emptied, money was being transferred everywhere.
The question now isn't if your data's at risk, it's how to protect yourself once it's been exposed.
The police didn't believe me. The banking institution didn't believe me.
So what can you do to protect yourself and your family? The leader in identity theft protection is LifeLock.
Once LifeLock got involved, everything changed.
With LifeLock, if your identity is stolen, they'll step in and fix it so you don't have to, guaranteed. Our highly trained U.S.-based restoration specialists contact institutions, dispute fraudulent charges, close compromised accounts, and even procure legal support far beyond the capabilities of your bank or credit card company.
LifeLock pursued this case further than I ever would have imagined.
If you call right now, you'll get LifeLock for just $9.99 a month for your first year. All LifeLock memberships include the $1 Million Protection Package. Our members receive reimbursement for stolen funds and personal expenses, like lost wages, as well as coverage for lawyers and experts up to $3 million in total.
When the bank refused to reimburse my stolen money, the $1 Million Protection Package came through for me.
Our Restoration Guarantee and $1 Million Protection Package are included in all memberships with no additional fees. Plus, LifeLock now includes protection against scams.
I think it's natural to think that you can do this on your own. You can't.
Call 1-800-322-4370 and use promo code GET35 or go to lifelock.com/get35 to join today.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago.
Now, LifeVac is responsible for saving thousands of lives from choking.
In the time it takes you to pick up the phone and call, another life could be saved.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1 to 2 seconds.
Protecting families has always been our mission. I'm sure you love your family like I love my daughter. Do us all a favor and get your own life back now.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822. Order now.
Welcome back. Time now for News from the Left. The president asking Congress to pass the Stop Insider Trading Act last night during the State of the Union. The best part of that was watching him call out Nancy Pelosi on national television.
Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that, I can't believe. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it.
Beautiful, beautifully done. After the address, Nancy decided to jump on CNN, where one of the hosts decided to ask her about that moment. Watch as the former Madam Speaker fumbles through a very nervous, deflecting answer.
I say back to him, as that's what members said, look at your own self. the inference he wants to draw is there was something wrong with that, which there wasn't.
Elizabeth Warren stood and applauded tonight when the president talked about it.
Well, we all did. I did too. He gives his shout out. I don't pay any attention to him. What I'm concerned about is our democracy, which he is destroying.
I mean, she's so guilty. I mean, her excuse is that well, if anybody does this, they get prosecuted. That's the excuse. Congress has made it nearly impossible for themselves to get indicted for insider trading. In 2012, they passed the Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act, signed into law by Obama, claiming to prohibit members of Congress and their employees from using non-public information for personal profit. Despite multiple investigations, no member of Congress has ever been prosecuted, though, under that Stock Act because it's never enforced. They're all doing this. The Pelosi's turned it into an institution. They have made hundreds of millions of dollars. Her husband is like AI. Either he's cheating or he knows everything before it happens. It's one or the other. It's nonsense, the excuses. It's so funny to see her get called out and then go and try to defend herself. There's no defense for this. We all know what they're doing. Next up, Mamdani and AOC are urging illegal immigrants in New York, the vast majority of which are not paying any income taxes at all, to sign up for free city childcare.
Hola.
Mi español no es el mejor.
No te preocupes, alcalde. Cualquier padre de la familia de la ciudad de Nueva York, sin importar su ocupación, ingreso o estatus migratorio, es elegible para registrar a sus hijos. Porque ninguna familia debe ser excluida de nuestros programas solo por su idioma.
You'll never see these people smile bigger than when they're giving your money away to illegal immigrants. It's the happiest they will ever be. Those are the moments that they live for. That's what they live for. And sticking with this pair, and specifically with Mamdani, he has decided he wants to spend $70 million to study his government-owned grocery store project and begin the building of 5 locations where they are going to have massively subsidized or entirely free groceries, one in each borough in a probably rough and poor part of town. Think about that store and how quickly that store is going to be decimated every single morning by people coming in there and just raiding the place. How awful of an idea this is. Communism in action. This is when you have a 34-year-old ideologue that's never had a job running your city. This is some of the fun you get to have. Up next, defending the men's hockey team.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Whoa, 90% off? I have to purchase now. My phone!
That was a scam link.
Try this one. We installed PCmatic.
PCmatic blocked ransomware before threats can strike.
It's 100% made in America security.
Trusted by homes, businesses, governments, and now you. Stop guessing.
Start blocking.
Get PCmatic.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slowmag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slowmag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slowmag.
Pump up the volume.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Ready for relief?
I just want relief.
I needed relief.
you just want relief. Like, you just want it to go away.
You need the Signal Relief Patch.
We all hurt, whether it's our neck, back, knees, or shoulders. Pain keeps you from doing the things that matter most. In a recent study, 85% of people felt relief.
As a surgeon, I put it on, and I can't explain why it works. I can just tell you, it does work.
Some people think this is just in my head, but I know that it works. It's working.
The Signal Relief Patch for me offered up independence.
The Signal Relief Patch for me actually means pain relief.
With a Signal Patch, I've been able to sleep, walk, and work.
Relief. That's what the Signal Patch gave me.
It was phenomenal. Why aren't more people trying this?
Join the thousands who have experienced relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Get your patch today.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric that helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Finally tonight, the left out there outraged after the men's hockey team on the phone with the president laughed at his joke about Trump having to invite the girls' team as well or he'd be impeached, which was funny. New York Times claiming the boys won gold and then lost the room. Another headline, Team USA flying high, now hit by political wins. NBC writing Trump ignites culture war around U.S. hockey gold medal winners. Now, you can think that the joke is in bad taste and be offended by every little thing when they joke about women's hockey, but you really can't blame these young men. It's the President of the United States. These are 22-year-old kids that are on the phone with him for the first time in their lives. And you laugh when the president makes a joke. You don't care. He probably didn't even understand what it was. They're just laughing, trying to fit into the situation. What level of virtue do these idiot sports reporters expect from these 22-year-old kids that have been playing hockey their whole lives? There's also been plenty of rage at the men's team for even accepting the White House invitation. Just mad that they're going, which brings us to this next clip. Old school clip from MSNBC hosts ragging on a conservative player because he wouldn't go see Obama.
Boston Bruins goalie Tim Thomas RSVP'd thanks, but no thanks to a White House invitation.
So I don't know what kind of point he was trying to make, but it was completely inappropriate, I think. He can vote. He doesn't have to boycott the White House.
I mean, I think this is kind of the hyper-partisanship that just irritates everybody. It's like, just go to the White House. You don't have to run an ad or cut a commercial or anything. Just go to the White House, take part, celebrate, just like everybody else celebrates with Republicans or Democratic presidents. Especially when you're getting honored.
Near a tendon, looking weird. I mean, these are the same people that right now are saying that it's so inappropriate for this team to go for political reasons. Finnerty, isn't it interesting how that just shifts depending on who's in the White House?
Well, I also think it's ironic that the people criticizing the U.S. men's team does not know the difference between a blue line and a clothesline, okay? And the ratings for the men's team, way more than the women's team. Yeah. Men's hockey's huge. I'm glad the women won the gold medal, and they will go to the White House. But last night was spectacular, and there's no way around it. And if you can't clap for that, you've got a problem. You have got a problem.
There you go. Take it away.
All right. Finnerty's next. Thanks, Rob.